friends, neighbors, and of course, the YouTube comments section. Hello and welcome back. Check it out. It's another distro video. That's right, it's Distro City. We built this distro on rock and roll. Sorry, I make that joke every single time I build this, or I build a distro. It's Distro City. I know, that's why you guys come here, right? For the dad jokes, the poorly shot and edited things on the YouTube. We at Billy LaGuardia YouTube know that you have a choice in YouTube channels, and we appreciate you choosing us. And by us, I mean me. Hello. What's up, you guys? Haven't seen you in a while. I'm sorry. 2024 has not been very prolific as far as my my YouTube content has been. I've been busy, and it's mostly been the same things that aren't very YouTube worthy. So this is an interesting distro that I've got on the shelf today. And like I mention all the time, if you want a project to take 3 times as long, put it on film. So that's what I decided to do today. So I'm going to head one question off at the pass. Every time I build one of these, you guys say, hey, bro, where can I get the metalworking? Super interested. Well, here's the long and short. If you are really interested in a custom metalworking project, you can email me. I will give you my LM Cases email address, which is where we do the integration side of things. At the bottom of the screen here is Billy, B-I-L-L-Y, at lmcases.com. You can email me with what you're interested for. If you want one of these, I build them in bulk. I usually build these things around 10 at a time. This is a good problem solver box for me because of the Decora punches. If you want one, I'm more than happy to take one off the shelf and send it to you. That being said, I'm going to give you guys this. I don't really want to be a metalworker provider. If I can be completely honest with you, there's not a ton of margin in this kind of stuff, and it is generally a pain in the butt to design. So, you know, if I'm designing something for you, it will generally be a bit of a labor-intensive process. And if so, that's fine, but most people, when we get through the design phase of things, they're like, oh man, I can get a pre-punched panel for half that price, and you can see where I'm going with this. So if you actually want one of these, I'd be more than happy to design it for you. That is not our core business model here. We build fully integrated systems. I would rather sell you something fully integrated, whether it's a distro or a panel or something like that. Really don't want to be in the business of just doing metalworking. That's not really what we do. But at the end of the day, I have to make payroll every 2 weeks. So if you want to buy a box that I've got off the shelf, help your boy out. That would be great. Happy to sell it to you. And even if you want me to design you something, that's fine. I'd love to do it. Sorry. It's a cold Monday here in Ohio. It's everybody's a little crabby today. So anyway, sorry. We're going to push that negative energy out of the way. So we've got a cool distro to build today. And actually, if you want, speaking of selling you things, if you go to lmcasesonline.com, and I'll send you a link in the upper right-hand corner of your screen somewhere, or at the bottom or something, if you want to do this. So this is a standardized box that I do keep in stock. As you can see, it has 4 Decora punches and 2 D punches. And you can configure each one of these little slots however you want. I've built this distro or similar distros previously. I'm sure it's in the playlist that this is in. I believe it's called Power Distribution. But this is a unique one because we're putting 4, count them, 4 USB charging outlets in this one, which are pretty cool. And we don't do a lot of these because we're transitioning into USB-C, but we've got these guys. Hang on, I'm going to manually focus the camera because I'm a manual kind of guy. They don't make this in a USB-C format yet. So what this is going into is, it's going into a Pelican 1690 case that we're doing an interior for, and it's going to be charging iPads. So the easiest way to do it for a durable thing that's going on the road is to use our standardized rack enclosure, and then we're also using these outlets, and then we're just going to go USB-A to USB-C. And these are cool. This is the Leviton. God, I wish I knew this off the top of my head. It's a 4 USB. Oh, here we go. It's the USB 4P/E. So USB for Paul-Echo. And echo, the E suffix means it's black. And man, I gotta tell you, these things are, in the Leviton format of this, I swear to God, LM is the only people that buy these in black. Sometimes we can get them, sometimes we can't. So I've got to build 5 of these distros, and I can only get enough black USB outlets to build 1. The rest of them have to be white. But it's okay, they're going to different customers, so they'll, in theory, never see them. Yeah, so we're building this out of black. I figured that was the showpiece. That would be cool for entertainment YouTube. But yeah, this is kind of cool. So these are interesting. They don't, as far as a regular outlet goes, you know, you'll have a brass terminal and a zinc terminal for your hot and your neutral on these. These actually just have tails. So to wire these all together, I've got to come up with some type of Wago splice thing. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do that yet, but I figured, why don't we learn together? The other thing that's interesting about this project is the rack, instead of it being in a rack case where it's stored like this, this is going to be mounted just like this in the case. There's the enclosure that we're doing for this thing actually does allow it to mount like this in the case, and the iPads are on either side. They plug into this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have a power con there to feed this with power. And then, of course, because we have a secondary terminal, I can't rob them of an auxiliary, because come on, got to have extra ones. And in case you wonder why we do this, we at LM make a product that is a power con to a 4-plex cable. It's really nice. You can get it built per order. Again, I'm selling you something. Check links wherever this is going. It's really nice. And again, the reason why I use this instead of a true 1, I'm sure that that's the next question that you're asking, is that the true 1 output is a larger hole than the traditional 15/16 diameter punch for a regular D. So the inlet is a 15/16 punch, but the outlet is, I believe, 1 1/8 or 1 1/16. It's just right over 1 inch. So this being 15/16 is right under 1 inch. The true 1 outlet is just over 1 inch. So I can't make it generic enough. So going back to my original rant at the beginning of the video, metalworking is tough, you guys. Like, if you want to get this stuff done, if you're in custom panel land, you know, there's minimum poundages. It takes a long time. I mean, right now for metalworking, it's taking us about 2 months to get stuff in and out of anodizing, which is, it takes a long time. So my goal with stuff that we do here as far as distros and that kind of thing is if I can keep it into a standardized format like this, and I can make generic boxes like this that sort of solve some problems, it's good. The Decora solves a lot of problems. If I want to put this into a workbox, I can put a switch here. You know, I can put a keystone in here that has RJ45s, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, again, you guys have seen me build this before. I just thought this would be an interesting video as far as the USB outlets go. So the way that this box goes together, hold on, again, I made the joke. I'm a manual guy. Let's make sure this is manually in focus. Is that there's a front panel, and then there's a back box. So online with lmcasesonline.com, you can take this chassis and populate it however you want. So what we generally will do is we've got drop downs for all of our family of Leviton products. So if you want the 4x USB, which is this guy, they make another one that's a duplex outlet that has a USB, 2 USB-Cs, 2 USB-As, and then there's another one that's an A and a C. So primarily I use the USB A and C because, again, we're in that weird transition right now where we're going to USB-C, but we haven't fully committed to USB-C. A lot of people still have a lot of legacy cables. I just bought a new car and it only has USB-C, and my iPhone is the last generation of USB-A to Lightning instead of the USB-C cable. So I can't plug anything into my car with a cable. So one of the reasons why I'm mentioning this, other than just killing time, is that this back box, we usually don't feed this distro from the front panel. I'll usually do these as two, either we'll blank them or we'll do the PowerCon outputs. The panel does, or the box has a hole in the back that is designed to accept a cable gland, and then generally we'll feed that. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to drill 2 holes in this to put a blank. We're just going to put a Neutrik, and this is a DBA-PL, if you guys are curious, for a whopping 75 cents. You too can buy this Neutrik branded blank. That's just going to go back there. So I'm going to drill those holes because, again, not the most riveting content. And then we'll get this set off to the side. And the cool thing is the way that this is going to wire is we can get everything basically mounted, and then we'll just wire this all together. So I'm going to get my camera reset, get some stuff relatively drilled and done, and we will come back after the fade. Okay, so now that our holes are drilled here and our back plate is mounted, we can move this off to the side because we can just build this plate. So the first thing that I'm going to do for this is I'm going to actually solder tails onto our power cons here. A lot of the times you can use a disconnect on the end of this. I prefer to solder them. I just find it to be a bit more of a durable connection. So again, 6 in one hand, a half dozen in the other. Some people prefer the disconnects, but I will tell you, I have done tech support on panels not built by us, but by other people that have had this actually pulled off. And one of the reasons why I don't really like the disconnects on the back of this is once you start to make the panel neat, when you put zip ties on, you can put tension on them. So if things shift, the whole loom may pull this off. So again, I would just prefer a soldered connection, because in our world, this is entertainment. It's going to be in a truck bouncing around. It's never going to be in a static environment. So again, I just prefer to solder. And I will say, LM has had no warranty claims for any integrated system. So I would like to keep it that way. So obviously my means have been working pretty good. So I get some soldering stuff set up, and we'll get some tails on this. Okay, so to prep this, we're going to take 3 lengths of cable, strip them, and then we're going to solder the cable, and we're also going to solder the connector. So what I like to do is after I strip this, I take the wire and just give it a twist. And then what we'll do is we'll dip it in our flux. It is this right here. Sorry, I'm looking at my preview monitor. Put you in here like this. So this is our hot. So on a PowerCon, this is L. So what we'll do is we'll take just a tiny little dab of flux and put it on that. Okay, and then we'll take our solder here. We will melt our flux in there, just like that. Little dab of solder, and then we get our cable. And what I like to do is have a little bit of a ball of solder on the end of this, so that there's a little drop. And then what you can do is you can take that drop and face it up like this, and you can get that hot, and then once that melts, it'll melt the solder on the tab. So once the solder changes color from shiny to kind of dull, you know that it's on there. So the test with this, even though this is a fresh soldered connection, is we can take it and I can pull this wire. As a matter of fact, it's pulling the jacketing back on it. So I know that this is a good connection. So what we'll do further on this is we'll put a piece of heat shrink on there, because remember, the difference between an integrator and a hobbyist is the amount of heat shrink used. So here's your daily heat shrink moment of the day. So what we want to do with that is basically all this is doing is covering this connection, because the blue is the inlet connector. So once this is electrified, this is going to be, obviously electrified. So if you drop something in there, not that you would, or if you're accessing the panel hot, that's just one less thing to be electrified in there. Is that really necessary? No. Do we do extra credit things here at LM? Well, yes, of course we do. So take our heat shrink gun. Our heat shrink gun, our heat gun. God, it's been a long day, y'all. And then we have this nice connection like that. And look how pretty that is. So we will just rinse and repeat this for the other ones. Okay, so what I did do is I took these out into the shop and ran them through the bandsaw and then subsequently ground these corners down. And the reason why I did that is that they do have a tapped piece on the other side, so that if you put this into a regular wall outlet, you can put the decorative face piece on. But since we're obviously using this in a bit of a unorthodox world, I did have to grind that off. Oh, hey, check it out. That comes off like that. Didn't know that. I just put a piece of tape on here. I just put a piece of tape on here so that the faces wouldn't get scratched up while I was running them through the bandsaw. But I guess in a weird way, now we know how they come apart. Cool. Good to know. So anyway, if my rambling is not making sense to you, this was our issue. If we didn't cut that piece off, they would sit like this, and then they would kind of be all crooked in there. So if we do them like this, they will sit nice and flush. So to mount these, this does have a recessed hole in it so that it's countersunk. And I like to use non-traditional looking hardware. So this is a, sorry, I have a new camera set up today. I'm not used to where to look. We have a, this is a hex drive flathead. So this will sit nice and flush in the panel just like that. So I am going to get these guys mounted. So while I'm doing this, in case you guys didn't know, the common size for anything that has to do with electrical is 6/32. That is a 632. As you can tell, I'm actually running low on 632 nuts at the moment. But if you use a 632, if you're speccing these kinds of things, it actually is industry-wide, light switches and wall plates and all that kind of stuff. So it is kind of funny, like sometimes I'll look at Amazon and it'll be like, custom screw for wall outlet, blah, 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 blah. But if you know that it's just a 6/32, you don't have to do any of that kind of stuff. The other thing is I do prefer uncommon hardware. I just like the way it looks. So for example, instead of using a Phillips screw to put our little back blank connector, say that 5 times fast, we use a Torx screw. So the hardware that we did use on the back is a 440 inch screw. This is 6/32, and again, I like those in Torx, but it is, I don't know why we use these. I guess because we buy, I mean, obviously we do everything in bulk, so the hardware supplier that I use for these 6/32 didn't have a flathead Torx. They only had a flathead socket drive, so that's why this isn't a Torx, because actually connectors are kind of expensive. You honestly don't realize that until you start building stuff in bulk. As an example, the thing that I always like to use as an example is that if you're looking at a regular road case corner, like a ball corner, the rivets to attach it cost more than the corner itself. So just in case you ever wonder why things can get expensive. Oops, didn't take the tape off this because I'm talking to you guys and not paying attention. That is a factoid. So anyway, I'm going to concentrate on the task at hand and check back in when this is all mounted. Okay, so everything is mounted. Check this thing out. Tell me this isn't the world's most expensive phone charger. And in case you missed my pendant video of making the world's most expensive phone charger, check that out, upper right-hand corner of your screen. So here are our black USBs in, here's our PowerCon in and PowerCon out. Now, I'm sure I can feel it, comment section. Oh, why didn't you back mount them? Well, the reason being is the torque screws that I like to use stick up. And I had one panel come back one time where somebody couldn't get they were using the old Gen 1 PowerCon, and it didn't accommodate for any screws, and they couldn't get it out, and we had to redo it. So that was the one thing that I just front mount all my power now. I know it doesn't look as nice, but just because I insist on using these torque screws, I front mount it. That, and I think it makes it a little bit more obvious. So this is going into a sports application where I'm sure that they don't really know what a PowerCon is, so at least they can match the blue connector to the blue jack. That seems like it would make more sense. So anyway, let's figure out how we want to wire this. So what I'm thinking is, I think I'm going to make little Ys right here with butt splices. And we'll do a little butt splice here, and we'll join it to the next guy. So we'll have two crimps that connect all of our grounds, our neutrals, and our hots on these. And then we can just use a Wago and connect all of this stuff together. Okay, so here are some of the tools that I used. So because I use the same fasteners all the time, I do go a little bit extra credit, and I have a specific 5/64 hex driver in a little Weehaw pocket screwdriver. And then the other side of that is it needs a 5/16 nut driver. This is what drives the 6/32 nut, and this is the 6/32 screw. So because I use those all the time, I do have a nut driver for both of these instead of using an Allen key. It's a lot faster. The torque screws are pretty much a nightmare. When you're getting into the panel stuff that's little like that. So one of the things that I bought are these right-angled Knipex pliers. Game changer. I used to use a 440 nut driver for all of these, but I really just use these Knipex right-angle needle nose. Super, super awesome. And then I have a Klein Torx driver. So if you follow my videos, I do try to shout out. I do have an Amazon store, so if you are interested in any of these tools, I think I've had that up for 2 years, and I don't think I've made a commission check from it yet. So if you are going to buy a tool and you want to buy it from Uncle Jeff Bezos, hey man, help your buddy out. Am I even a real YouTube guy if I don't pimp my Yamaha or my Amazon affiliate store? Anyway, if you're interested in tools, check that out. All right, I am going to get to crimping, and we'll check back in. All right, so that wraps this guy up. Check it out. Nice and neat. There you go. So, I mean, obviously we need to do a little bit of cleanup on this, but as far as the panel goes, but this is nice and pretty. So, I mean, again, you can see how we try to path things so that everything is nice and, you know, and durable. So the idea with all of this stuff is, you know, the thing that I keep in the back of my mind all the time is just redundancy. How do you have a connection that is redundant and durable? So, you know, going back to the PowerCon as an example, not only is it soldered, it also has adhesive lined heat shrink that's on there. So we're grasping the pin on the back of the connector with the solder, with the adhesive. It's nice and strong. These, obviously, it's a little trickier because it's a tethered cable from the manufacturer. So when we come out into the splice, if you notice, I soldered that. So not only is it soldered, it's crimped, and this is a heat shrink butt splice. So we're essentially grasping the wires with heat shrink, a solder, and a crimp. And even going into our Wagos here, which I know there's a lot of you who don't like these, but I do. They're amazing. I have yet to have a failure or anything. They're very easy to build. So we're using a 5-position Wago. I do put a little bit of heat shrink on the end of this just so that the little levers can't come up. I mean, and again, we're looking at this so that there isn't any tension. You know, there's a standoff down here. This is all run into a nice loom. It's got redundancy. So it is not only supporting each connection it's also supporting each connection post crimp and join. You know, again, I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons why I don't like to use the little spade connectors on here is that once you build this loom, there is weight associated with each of the connections. And, you know, once this moves around like this, it can wiggle that connection off. So again, I just prefer to solder this. So putting it all back together, we can wrap the video up while we're doing the fun, satisfying part, right? That just goes in there like that. So I got to apologize. Sorry for being sort of crabby at the beginning of this building, or the build. It's been a long day, and sometimes when we build these things, it's a lot of the same comments. Bro, where do you get that metalworking? DM me for the metalworking, bro. It's like, guys, you know, again, this is just your crabby integrator making YouTube videos, Billy talking right now. Like, if you're actually interested in a product, that's not the way to go about it. Why don't you just shoot me an email? Billy@lmcases.com. You know, that's my LM email. I mean, obviously, if you guys want to chat about this or anything else, I mean, I'm happy to build you anything you want. The metalworking aside, you know, we can do that if you really want it. You know, or any of these products like this. I mean, this is all custom. So this kind of stuff, you know, another reason why I like to make these videos is, you know, I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand how stuff is made in the year of our Lord 2024. You know, it's very simple to go on Amazon and just buy something and get it delivered to you the next day. You know, this particular project took me an hour to build. You know, so you're paying an integrator who is strikingly handsome, you know, time to, you know, to build this kind of stuff. And, you know, it takes time. And anything, you know, you can see the level of detail that we go into with this kind of stuff. So, you know, I just sort of get annoyed by the comment section warriors who are, DM me for a price, bro. It's like, if you actually want to do this, shoot me an email, Billy@lmcases.com. Happy to quote you on anything you want or chat about any of this. The other thing that I will say, as I mentioned earlier, so if you're interested in any of the tools, check out my Amazon store. I mean, again, am I really a YouTuber if I don't, you know, pimp my Amazon store? The other thing that I've been doing recently is just some consulting work. There are a lot of people who are building studios and building, you know, these kind of things, and they want to chat about that. So if you do, you know, either shoot me an email, my LM email address, or you can do my audio-related one, Billy@BillyLaGuardia.com. I would love to chat with you about your project, and if there's anything that I can help you with, I would certainly be happy to do that. You know, if you want to throw some cash in the old Venmo, or the super thanks or anything like that here, that's certainly appreciated if you guys like these types of videos. But anyway, I'm sorry for selling you stuff and yakking for too long. Appreciate you guys watching. Hope you have a great day. Happy fall. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.